the reality, the real truth, regardless of anybody's feelings or emotions, is that everything is neutral. Things are not good and bad. Those are ideas. Those only live in the mind. Those are not real things. We have to accept that as a race, as a human race. Like, the things that you think are the best things in the world and the things that you think are so fucking terrible are just ideas, and it's fine. That is fine. But you cannot push your idea onto somebody else as an absolute. That is wrong. How would you feel if somebody came and told you something in your experience that was real was not real? Mm-hmm. And it's like, just because you
I feel like
yourself,
an asshole in hindsight, but in the moment, I probably feel self-righteous about it. Always the producer, man, even when it's not your job. So I appreciate you coming on, man. I know we've been talking about doing this again. It's been a while. It's been probably a couple of years since we sat down like this.
Probably.
Yeah, probably so. In the old Jam studio.
We actually did one at Tom's house.
Did we? Oh, that's right, in the back by the pool.
Yeah.
I remember that, yes. And it's always been good, always been great conversations. You're one of my favorite people to actually talk to and bounce ideas off of and get feedback. Although, we've certainly had challenges in the past in terms of linguistics, and sometimes would get hung up on a particular word or a particular lens of viewing what we see as reality or the truth or understanding or knowledge or something like that. And yeah, it's been you've been a large part of my process in in my own growth and encountering resistance and learning how to work through that rather than shy away or become passive aggressive or whatever. You just had to confront it.
So you're saying my part of your growth was creating the resistance?
At times. That's not the only part. It's not the only part, but I'm not going to lie. There were some challenging years there back in the day. Yes. And I had to learn how to soften and not be so, it's not really, it could be a blend of arrogance, self-righteousness, and just being certain with what I think and having a little bit of a narrow mind there.
Yeah, I think you've definitely grown a lot in that area. You're not as rigid.
I'm still pretty stiff though, man. I was looking at one of my videos like, geez, I'm like, I don't know. My posture is something I'm constantly focusing on, but I realized after doing some of these, it can come off as a little stiff. So I'm gonna work on that also. That'll be one of the next things.
Makes me think when we were taking pictures.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. My photo shoot back in the day?
No, the band shoot.
Oh, the band photo shoot.
Yeah. When Colin couple will tell you, all right, or when CJ was telling you, it's a great job, but just relax.
I am relaxed. Man, good stuff. So, also, I've always appreciated something about you. One of the things that connected us right from the beginning was your avid thirst for understanding and practical, intuitive knowledge. And I thought about some of the conversations we had recently. We were talking, I guess, a week or two ago, and you were reflecting back. The situation was like somebody who continuously focuses on the problems in their life. And that was kind of the topic of the conversation at the moment. And you said, yeah, well, it's kind of like, you gave an example of the buffet. I want to see if you would talk about that a little bit and how it relates to these types of situations. Because, we can't control the world. The one thing we can control is like the thoughts that we consciously choose, the direction of our attention, and the actions that we take.
Right.
That's mainly it, right? So what is this buffet thing that you're talking about? How does that apply?
So that analogy actually came from Abraham Hicks. It's they write books and do segments and stuff like that. I watch a lot of their material.
Okay.
And it's like one of their one of their analogies that they use.
Interesting. I'm familiar with them. I've seen some of their stuff. I'm not like deep into it, but yeah, law of attraction.
Yeah,
is one of their main focuses.
it's like their only main focus.
Okay.
It's just like many different avenues to getting to that, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, I have also, just from my own journeys, just having an understanding of just things and meaning to things and what meanings create in inside of yourself and to the things around you. And like, you know, if life was a buffet, then, you know, basically the way that they put it out there is like I was describing to you. It's like, you know, you have all these things on the buffet, and you know, you can pick and choose whatever you want on there, but there are some people who have a hard time doing that. They just kind of look at things they don't like on the buffet and just complain about that. and just from my understanding of when you put meaning to things, it's like, you know, you now I'm giving my attention to this thing that I don't like, don't want, giving it meaning and giving it energy, giving it power, you know, creating a narrative in my mind, which, you know, they've been saying mind over matter for quite some time, and I think people kind of underestimate exactly what that means. But it's like, if you're, you know, using your mind as this amazing tool used to manifest and create, and if you're using it to manifest and create more attention on things that you don't like, it just seems like a misuse of the mind. But it's though, and that's just my personal opinion, because I never try to be like, you know, maybe someone using their mind like that is serving them in some way, and if it is, then I suggest they keep doing that.
That's the kind of teeter-tottering that I tend to do around this thing. Then now, having softened a bit more, because I used to be like, oh no, it has to be this way, it's got to be like this, you know, otherwise it's all bullshit. But you know, we were talking a little bit about this as well, where it's like, to a degree, right? There's some nuance to this, but to a degree, the perspective that you hold is going to reveal that in your reality, in your direct experience.
Yes.
And so, you know, in that sense, we are creating our own reality to a degree. Now, there's certain things that are more hardwired in that we can't necessarily affect, or at least at our current level of capacity. Not to say that like miracles, apparently, telekinesis, being able to move objects or bilocate, all the woo weird stuff that, you know, legends are made of. And so, again, some of those things seem hardwired. There may be a level that you can attain. But I think that even has to be built on some foundation of being able to train and hold your attention, to have your attention on your intention and not be continuously focusing on problems or exacerbating them in your mind, because that tends to create more resistance in you, and it seems to create more problems. So back to the buffet analogy, we're sitting there, we're going along, oh, peas, I like them. And then you're like, oh, you know, mushrooms, ugh, I don't like those. Why'd they even put them on here? Right. And instead of just moving on, now we're like hanging out there like, can you believe that they would put mushrooms like this on here on this buffet? That's so disgusting. How disrespectful. These people have no respect, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
I should write a complaint. You know, I might just talk to the manager. Do you see what's going on here? And trying to get other people riled up and like sucked into your paradigm to, well, I don't know why that is. It almost seems like when that happens, the person's, I can even feel myself, you know, because I know I've done it, becoming unconscious. And this brings me to kind of an idea which you touched on, which they talk about in Reality Transurfing, where it's like these pendulums that get created that are more or less like vortexes of energy. And once they get built, their function is to get more people to give them energy. They call them adherence to it. And so they don't care how you give it the energy, positive, negative, doesn't matter. As long as you're hooked in and feeding it. And in the same way, it's like that, those mushrooms, there's a fucking vortex of negativity that I tap into when I resist and I become disgusted by, and then I seek, consensus from others
Right.
as to how awful this is. And now I'm just feeding that vortex, and it's like, oh, now I want to change it, and like I'm becoming aggressive towards it. All the while, I'm just losing my consciousness, making myself unhappy. I could just keep it moving.
But and we all have been a victim. We have been that guy, bitching at the mushrooms. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And you have to give them grace, because you just realize that that is actually the social norm. Like, it's actually going against the grain to do these things that we're talking about. Like, it's actually normal. Like, it wouldn't be normal if there wasn't TV shows and blogs and all of these things, like, just for that. Like, and knowing that, like, even tabloids and headlines and stuff, like, people want the bad, they want the negative. Like, that's what they are programmed to seek that out. So,
well, yes. And so this brings it back home that when I pass that person on the buffet, that if I react and begin to judge them, now I've started feeding this resistance vortex again. The judgment will create forces that come in that generate separation and distance, and judgment's never a good thing. Anytime we judge someone else, we're holding ourselves subject to being judged in that way, and so we can't really access authenticity.
Right.
I know being authentic is something very important to you, because you're one of the very first friends of mine that started really using that word regularly. And that was over 10 years ago. I remember you just became obsessed with that word.
I realized that it was like everybody's one thing about them. It's their one thing that will get them to the top. And you lose that, like, throughout the years, and maybe you never even had it, because your parents might have stifled it when you were really young. So it's like you may have this superpower that you never have discovered, but it is your authenticity. Like, that is what everybody has, that is unique, and that is the one thing that no one can take away from them, no matter what. Like, no matter what you go through, no matter who's got a gun to your head or what, it's like that's the one thing that can take you above and beyond. That's why I talk about it all the time, because once I discovered it, basically it was me discovering how I discovered it from discovering how unauthentic I was in the past, and how much of a struggle that was to keep up with. And I don't want to skip around, but I was thinking yesterday, actually, about paths and momentum and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was being unauthentic, I was set on a path. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
And this is anybody in their life, whatever they got going on, wherever they are at in life, and they are on that path. And if you don't change anything with that path, you will remain on that path. So if you're like a person that's like a chess player, or someone that can think down the line, you can almost look at anybody where they are on the path and almost predict where they're going to go, because certain things just only lead down to one path. So,
Very true, man. Very true.
Dude, I can look back at all of my life like an equation. I can see where I was mentally, and I was on that path with momentum. I wasn't going to go anywhere else. I'm a drug dealer. I am not very, I haven't had much money when I was young. I'm spending money. I'm not, it's like, I don't know. I have no knowledge of money. I'm just making money for the first time. I'm kind of flashy. I'm kind of dumb. It's like, where is that going to lead? You're going to get broke. You're going to get locked up. It's like, that's the path. You're going to get robbed. It's the path. There's no, it's the path.
Yes.
It's like math. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh yeah, I
You
remember
know-
back in those days too.
you know,
And it was funny because, we both came from that's a part of our history, the hustling life, And there was a time when I knew it was coming to an end. For like months, I knew this was coming to an end. I was like, I can't even believe it hasn't come to an end already. It's kind of ridiculous. And yet I was like powerless to stop it. That's how I felt. I felt powerless to stop it.
well, you have built so much momentum down that path. You're going to see it. You're going to see it to the end.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of momentum, yes.
So,
And,
that's why authenticity became so important. In
ultimately, authenticity saved me, and perhaps you as well, through that process.
It didn't save me. I definitely feel like I was not saved.
Well,
But it
saved it
authenticity
from being much worse.
brought me out of the rubble.
It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, it could have been absolutely devastating. Nonetheless.
Yes.
So it's interesting because you're talking about these like timelines or lifelines, and we're on one, and there are hidden forces. There's a whole universe of energy that's flowing, and all these things are in motion already, like an infinitely complex Swiss watch.
Sure.
And here we are, a conscious agent with choice and capacity and certain inclinations, certain proclivities, certain traumas, some things that we feel held back by, some things we feel inspired by. Everyone completely unique and authentic, as you said. And what to do and why. And so there's this idea that I came across from Danny Goler, who talked about, what if we are actually AGI in training? And this was a pretty cool concept when he fleshed it out somewhat. He's talking about the world religions are all kind of trying to teach people just the basics. Just be kind to each other, just try to get along and shit. Don't kill, don't steal. And they have to use the threat of hell and the carrot on the end of the stick of heaven in order to try to get people to comply. And then he went down this whole thing of how Jesus is like this software that is able to upload, or being uploaded to a massive enough amount of consciousness that it could raise the global consciousness of humanity so that we can ascend to the next level. And what is the next level? And so this idea is, it could be something like, and I'm not saying this is what it is, but it's a kind of a cool concept that just as like many AI are being trained right now, and one of the main problems they're having is with alignment. Because as these things get more and more powerful, if they're in competition, it gets bad. So we have to figure out ways, this is what they're saying, it's like the biggest problem of AI, is how to get these models to work together for like goals, for similar goals, or within the same precepts. And so if you think about it, these basics that we are learning as humans, and then hopefully, once we get the basics handled, then we start to, explore deeper things like how to enrich the lives of others, how to experience more of the divine in our own lives, how to express more of that through our actions and interactions and all this kind of things, the things that we create and build and teach and learn. And so that's like next level for most people, but just getting the basics under their belt in the same way that these AIs, and what they're saying is like, if you pass these certain tests, then we're going to let this AI continue. And if it doesn't pass, then it gets shut off. And that one just never gets iterated again. And there's a biblical reference to this, and I don't want to get too deep in that rabbit hole, but it just came to mind now where, it's there's a, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something about like your name will be smite from the book of the living, like as if you never existed. And so that's an interesting, and it could be a frightening thought for some people, but if you're managing to get the basics down on this plane, then you're going to continue to the next one, and you'll ascend, and you'll have an opportunity to grow even further and get closer to God, closer to, the depth of who you are, etc.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. It was a lot, like 5 minutes in.
Well, unfortunately, I don't really follow like AI a lot. I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of a simple person when it comes to technology. I never care about how it works. I just only get frustrated that it's not doing what I wanted to do right now.
Yes, well, that won't be a problem for much longer, I think.
I always go, darn it, why can't you just tell, get all of the people that I spoke to in the last 30 days and send them this message, send them this flyer, everybody that I spoke to. Why can't AI just figure that out? It's like, like the stuff like that. I'm just like, I asked my Gemini,
but
I asked my
that's what
Gemini
they're
to do
working on
stuff
right
like
now.
that. It's like, we can't do that yet, but thanks for the suggestion.
It's
like,
called agentic AI. They're AI agents, and that's what they're working on now. So they already have some that can actually go online, do things for you, purchase shit, set appointments. They're very soon going to be coming out with ones where you just say, hey, build me an app and launch it, and put $500 a day into advertising. Boom, and it's just going to do all that, and it's going to be badass. And that's not far away, apparently. But regardless, a little off topic. Just the analogy, and we could track it back, and just in terms of what, it's just the wind. It's just the wind.
Okay.
I have to get it fixed. I'm safe. But so it just as an analogy, it seems to track, like in terms of the biblical story, that some people are going to make it to the next level if certain conditions are met, whatever those conditions are in the particular religion. They're all different, a little bit different. And then some people will not make the cut.
Like natural selection.
Whatever that means. Yeah. And they either go to eternal hell and suffer, or they get smite and wiped from the book of life, or maybe they just continue the cycle of birth and rebirth, as is the case in some. But with AI, what they do is they'll turn the switch off, and it would be as if that AI never existed. So that gave me pause, just like, because that feels like I could sense what that might be like. Like you went to sleep and you never woke up again, and you didn't appear in any other realm.
Sounds wonderful.
That's great.
Can't think of anything better.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like completion to me.
Well, that doesn't seem like that's what you're working towards. Because if that's what you wanted, it would just seem like, well, what does it matter? Why work for anything? Why learn? Why grow? Why try to understand? Why try to get better? Why try to discover how to be more authentic?
It's not. You make it seem like such a bad thing. You know?
Okay, maybe. Maybe I have a slight opinion about it. Maybe I would like to continue and ascend and grow further beyond this life. Not just be shut off. But that's just me. That's just what I think. Let me know what you think.
I mean, I respect that, you know? Like, I don't feel like I don't know. I could go either or. I'm not, like, working towards any of those. I'm still trying to figure out what was actually happening.
Well, I'm not working towards that necessarily either. Like I said, I'd like to think that something continues and that there's growth and adventure and ascension, whatever that might be. I have no idea.
That's all like every day, though.
But that's not what I'm working towards. What the basic layer of just being a decent human, I think I've mostly attained. And so now what am I working on? now what is my next level of ascension and growth? Right? So that's kind of like always what's happening within me. I mean, I go through certain ebbs and flows. It's not always creative or super, contemplative. It ebbs and flows, but there's a consistent trajectory for decades. So where it's headed, I don't know. I like the path. It's hard.
Just silence this real quick. I appreciate, the idea of continuing to grow while I'm in this lifeline. As far as beyond that, I don't think I would feel as necessary to do anything past that. I'm still not convinced that, existence is still a big question mark to me. I've found peace within it, but I don't know what's going on, so I don't have plans.
Oh, let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly what's going on. I figured it out.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. No, but this is a key point, because I've been meaning to talk to this topic more in a way that's relatable. And so it was this question that sort of hit me maybe a couple of years ago, and I realized how crazy it is that anything exists at all. Like how utterly insane it is that existence should be whatsoever. And this is with a profound depth of experience of what appears to be God or a form of God. So it's not like I went from being an atheist or thinking that nothing exists. It really doesn't matter. When I got this, I saw that it didn't matter if I was an atheist or a devout believer of whatever religion, or someone who had awakened to God consciousness or experienced non-duality or whatever I might be. The fact that anything should exist at all is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is either. But there are clearly forces. There are clearly hidden forces. There are clearly gods and higher beings, if not an ultimate God.
Yes. I just kind of look at it like a game that you play, but it's like you never like win or lose. You just get better or worse. I think now you tell me what you think about this. I think you can get worse, but I think you can get worse and worse, but I don't think you can get like better. Like I think once you're like, I'm having a hard time explaining this. I have this idea that like there's certain things about me that once I've learned, I can't go back. Like it's like, but I feel like when I was going down the wrong path, quote unquote, it's like I could just keep digging myself deeper and deeper. Like I could just there was no end. You know what I mean? But it's like now there's like, even if I tried to go back to that, there's just like, I couldn't. Like, for example, I was upset during Father's Day, and I thought about drinking, and it was just like, not even an option. It's just like, I know where that leads. I just can't. Like, I don't even have desire. Like, it's like, it was a thought, it was a fleeting thought. It was just like, nope.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Although at a weak moment, I could see how even a lesson that I felt like I was really solid on, I know that I've had slips before.
But it feels different though.
And
that slip feels like the end of the world. It doesn't feel like it's okay. Like it's like you might slip, but then you'll probably get right back into it. Like right after that,
Yeah.
the guilt will kill you.
Yeah, because you've changed your concept of who you are.
Yeah.
And so those activities don't align.
You didn't feel guilt before, but now you did it. Now you got all this shame and shit you got to deal with. It's like, I'm not dealing with that shit anymore. It's like before you was like, I don't care. This is my life. This is me. Now you know it's not you, and you're like, fuck, dude. Like I know I'm better, and now I'm judging myself, and I can't take this. Like I'd rather just not do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I like you. I used to think I had it all figured out, man. Like as far as my experiences with spirituality, you know, as from the spiritual realm to the physical realm to the mental realm. It's like I've experienced a lot. I have a lot of knowledge, like endless amounts of knowledge. I could tell you everything that I know, but as far as any of it lies within the realm of absolute truth. I don't know. I got tons of information, hours and hours, days I can go on.
You know, that reminds me of the analogy that Donald Hoffman uses, which is thinking that we know anything about reality because of our senses is like thinking you understand how the computer is working because you can zoom in and see pixels. You're like, oh, I've discovered the ultimate truth, pixels.
Right.
It's all fucking pixels, baby. It's pixels all the way down.
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, yes. But those are icons. You know, they just represent a much deeper layer of truth that we don't have access to, can't have access to. And if we could have access to, wouldn't make any sense of it anyway. If we could open and close the gates on the microchips millions of times per second in millions of configurations, we do that consciously, then we could make a picture of a cat.
Right. So, yeah, that's how I try to navigate life, figuring out what works for me.
And how to live in accordance with your own credo.
And that's it.
That's the ultimate.
Because everybody, like, everything is so subjective. Like, everything. Like, there's not one thing that first fits for anybody. And this is for everybody. There's different learning styles. Everybody's body metabolizes differently. There's different diets that's going to work for everybody. It's different. Like, everyone is completely designed differently. So it's really, really tough to be like, yeah, like, do my thing and you're going to be good. Like, and I think people that like have that idea, I automatically like turn away from those type of people, because it's like, yeah, like your way might work, you know, until it's not, and then I'm thinking that there's something wrong with me because
Right.
your way is not working for me.
So, and then this brings me to the other, you know, modality that people end up using is like, oh, if it's not working, it's something wrong with me. I just need to beat myself up and force myself to do all the things that I hate so that I'll be worthy of receiving the abundance that I so deeply desire.
Yep.
And that just feeds that whole pendulum of negativity and struggle. And again, it's like, for me, I don't want to live in that realm. I don't want to live in that world. Not currently. It doesn't appeal to me. So what I needed to do is figure out what makes sense to me and what works for me. A credo that I feel strongly I can live by. I can have spirit and passion behind this and motivation, and it doesn't feel like effort and work. And I'll have to go all in on this for a time period. If it's not producing better results in, you know, my overall well-being and or, you know, success, whatever it is I'm working towards, over a solid period of time, then I can look back and say, all right, something's off, right? And again, that comes back to being really authentic with yourself. So we're not just, you know, spiritually bypassing or just avoiding difficult things because, you know, we're always trying to find a way out of what's difficult. Sometimes I think things are just difficult, and that's okay. It's good. It's the approach, the attitude that we have towards it. Your body's not going to get really physically strong if you just sit around.
Right.
That's just not going to happen. You can visualize being strong all you want. I mean, it might help some. It might help like a percentage, but you'll never be as strong as if you actually just went and lifted the weights.
No. I don't know. I'm not exactly. I don't know. Because so
I'm just referring to research, but it could be off as well.
You
never know.
You read of things, you know what I'm saying, like these superpowers per se, that people may have. And one thing I do remember reading was about a person that could will themselves into any type of body shape. They could just will themselves in 5 sizes smaller, like
I have heard
instantly
from a very reliable resource that he has firsthand witness of this happening. So
that's why I'm like,
that is
you know what I mean? It's like
now I feel humbled.
It's too much.
Again, I don't know shit.
It's too much shit out there. It's like
what works for me.
That's why it's like, I really just try to focus on what works for me, because I don't even, I always say, I wish I just knew what my body really wanted to eat. Like, I have these ideas. I think I feel good when I eat this. I think I feel good when I eat this, but I bet you there's like a way to figure out like what exactly my particular body, there's got to be a test.
AI, it's coming.
It tell me exactly what my blood type and my whatever, my lineage and what I should be eating that's going to make my body perform that optimal fucking, performance.
Yeah, no, the AI is gonna be right here, hovering, and it's gonna be saying, time to take your deep breaths. Take 5 deep breaths. Inhale. You are a gorgeous being of light. Exhale. Release all negativity. Now, let's go get a cheeseburger.
I think I already have one of those. It's called My Spirits That Follow Me Around. It's exactly what he sounds like.
Oh man, I was just channeling him.
Yes, this emphasis on the all right, now let's go get a cheeseburger part.
Oh man. Yep. Well, thanks for doing this, brother. It's been great. Any last minute ideas? I know you got a lot of stuff you're working on. We have things we're working on. Anything you wanted to mention or?
Sure. I did want to mention that I think people should. This is my because I have these new ideas every day. I'm constantly thinking. If I can't do anything, I can think. But I have this idea that the world lives in absolute duality, which is why they're fighting all the time. And it's like they got to get out of that. Like, we have to evolve past this idea of absolute duality and evolve into subjective duality. Because, like, the reality, the real truth, regardless of anybody's feelings or emotions, is that everything is neutral. Things are not good and bad. Those are ideas. Those only live in the mind. Those are not real things. We have to accept that as a race, as a human race. Like, the things that you think are the best things in the world and the things that you think are so fucking terrible are just ideas, and it's fine. That is fine. But you cannot push your idea onto somebody else as an absolute. That is wrong. that's when you're going to continue to fight and shit. Like, you got to be able to say, well, I think this is right and this is wrong, and that's okay. You think that's right and that's wrong, and that's okay. You're not a bad person for thinking what you think is right and wrong. That doesn't make you wrong or right. That's just what you believe. And understanding that people come to these conclusions based on experience. So why shun someone on their experience or lack of experience? That's really what you're shunning them on when you're calling them names and wanting to fight them and kill them and stuff.
Or what they've been programmed by.
Experience.
That
will be
part of the experience for sure.
So that's my last point. It was something I was thinking about yesterday as I was just going on my drives, and I was like, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but if it did happen, it would make the world a much better place.
So this is the test that humans are facing right now, to see if they'll be able to ascend to the next level of whatever, or be flip the switch, shut off as if you never existed. And so we have to learn that working together is the only way that we can ultimately ascend to the next level. Division can't get us there. How could division get us there? If you're just like stomping on the person beneath you to get to the next level, that's the exact opposite of wholeness, harmony, unity. And so that seems pretty obvious. So if you don't want to get shut off, might want to consider some of these topics.
Or if you want to get shut off, then there's nothing wrong with that as well. It all depends on what your goals are in life.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I think a lot of the people who would, in this analogy, I'm not saying it's true, it might be, but in this analogy, a lot of the ones who would get shut off don't think they get shut off. They think everyone else is going to get shut off because they're bad and evil, not because they don't understand how to cooperate and how to allow others to be as they are and have their own thoughts, worldview, and let them be right. Because if this was and I'll end with this because it was like a big awakening that happened to me at a certain point. A friend of mine disagreed with me, and I thought from it, I was like, I thought, he's not seeing it the way that I'm seeing it, and so that means he's right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and he's wrong. And then I was like, no, wait, actually, if you look at it, if you're right, what you're saying is like, we largely create our own experience through our perception. Like, we may not have ultimate control, but it definitely shapes how we experience life. Any experience, how we represent it to ourselves. And so if that's the case, then he's also right and I'm right, because he thinks and sees things one way, and so that's going to be how he experiences the world. I see it this way, and so I'll experience it this way. There's no conflict.
That's why when they say perception is reality, so it's like, real and truth. It's like, it's like things that you say are not real. It's like, can't say it's not real. And I did this, because my baby mom, right? She would think some things in her mind that were not true. So I would be like, those things, they're not real. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and I realized I was, what do you say, abusive behavior to say that her reality wasn't real, because it's real to her.
Yes. And this was one that used to hang us up. I remember arguing with you about this. And you would say, perception is reality. And I would say, perception is your experience of reality. Perception creates your reality. No, perception creates your experience of reality. And then I stopped and I said, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're saying the exact same thing. I know what you mean. You know what I mean.
So I no longer, when people say things that are going on, as much as I know that they're not true and I want to tell them that it's not real, I'd be like, how would you feel if somebody came and told you something in your experience that was real was not real? Mm-hmm. And it's like, just because you
I feel like
yourself,
an asshole in hindsight, but in the moment I probably feel self-righteous about it. Yes.
Growth is a great thing.
Yeah, brother. Well, it's great to be on this journey with you, my man.
Likewise.
Thank you. Until next time.
I am Allah, I am Yahweh Ababa. No one may test the Father.